Hello and welcome to The Lab, a Minecraft podcast where we explore, experiment, and theorize about all things Minecraft. I am a Miner Thoughts, and everything is A-OK because the man with me is strong as an OAK at Oak, the Troche.
We're back to wood, are we? Oh my goodness, we're back to wood.
We're back to wood.
Back to wood. Well, that's probably appropriate considering we are taking a look back today to feedback. It is our regularly scheduled feedback episode, so it's probably okay to go to the wood.
Yeah, I asked for feedback on the wood puns. Nobody said it's enough's enough wood, and nobody said keep bringing the wood. So I'm just gonna try and keep bringing the wood.
If in doubt, go with wood.
Yes.
But we've had a bit of feedback again this last few weeks, which is always pleasant to see.
Yes.
And don't forget, if you would like to comment, drop emails. We love it. We love hearing it. We love seeing it. More than likely, we'll address them and in these sort of episodes, the feedback episodes. And who knows, like Dab Plays, you might get an entire episode devoted to your topic. So who knows, we would love to see it. A little bit different. Miner, how do people give us this feedback for us to consider and respond to on the episodes?
Well, there is always the comment section. If you're listening to this on YouTube, as long as you're commenting, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, do all the stuff. Then you can obviously reach us at the email, minecraftlabpodcast@gmail.com. And lately we've been getting more and more of those, and I really love seeing those in our inbox. You can reach us on Twitter, or X if you prefer, at MC_lab. And I butcher that one every time. It's something like that. And then there's also the website, interrealmssmp.com. Up at the top, I think it's top right, you can click and find the connect and connect to us from there. And there's always the Discord. We've had some people come over to the Interrealms Discord and say, hey, hear from the podcast. And so, yeah, love seeing that also. All these links will be down in the description, of course, of the podcast or the YouTube video.
Speaking of YouTube videos, we're going to go through the YouTube feedback first. And our first one goes back to unveiling the treasures of 1.21, where we actually talk about the new blocks that are coming and actually the new blocks that we already have on Interrealms. Even though we're only on 1.20.4, we've already got the 1.21 blocks. And from one of our favorite commenters who always comments and comments extensively is Devara. And Devara says, I love the new blocks, though in World 4 of Interrealms I'll likely only be using some of the copper blocks. Don't know about the rest for the new ones for my idea. What's interesting to me is, and I'm not going to say who in case she doesn't want me to reveal this, one of our larger content creators was so against initially the new tough block variants. Thought they were made comments on live streams that were very disappointing, expected more, but seems to very much have come around to the party when it comes to the tough blocks. Because I do notice that this person is using them a lot in designs and builds and whatnot. And with that, as our players are discovering these new blocks in the game, so many people are using them. The copper grates, the tough variants, all the different sorts of copper, the copper bulbs. It's really, really taking off. I think we were right. They're a great addition to the game.
Right. And it's one of those things where when copper was first introduced, a lot of people, did what they always do. They complained. It was like, oh, we don't have very many uses for copper. And they just delivered on this one. We have so many uses, so many different blocks for it now.
Yeah, it would be good to see if they take that philosophy to like the calcites and that of the world and give us,
Hmm.
different uses for those ones as well, which would be great to see. Because as it stands at the moment, calcite really is just a filler block that you'd use on a build for a gradient or something like that. To give it more uses, I think would be absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I think they are definitely heading that way. And I think the fact they're giving copper more block variants and tough, I think they're on that path. So let's see what comes ahead with that one.
Exactly. And I like to see it when they do things like that, because not only the gradients, stairs and slabs, walls will, if you get variants of those in different blocks, will add a lot of texture to your builds.
There's definitely some blocks that need at least, the slabs and the stairs. Concrete comes to mind instantly. It's very
Hmm.
hard when you're building with a concrete build. Sometimes you have to mix in different stairs, usually quartz, and it doesn't quite match. It doesn't. So, yeah, hopefully, hopefully concrete gets a bit of love. But Minor,
Yeah.
we're moving on to the next one, which was crafting communities and unveiling Interrealms 4. When we obviously had launched our new season, new world as we call it. We don't call them seasons, we call them worlds. And we got a few comments there about that one. The first one was from Jurassics. Welcome back, Jurassics. We have built an amazing community of very diverse people from all over the place. It's so good to see a thriving community. And honestly, it is a thriving community because, I can't think of any time that I have gone to log onto the server and there's no one online. There's always at least two or three, and I'm speaking from the Australian time zone. So traditionally, we get the quiet times when the Americans and those in the UK and Europe are asleep or at work. So we get the quiet times, but even then, there's still 3, 4 at least on at any one time, which is really pleasing to see.
Always someone to talk to.
Always someone to talk to, and especially on Discord too. Like, there's never a dull moment on there. The other one of the other comments we've got is from a new commenter called Dresden. Welcome, Dresden. I think Dresden popped in for a brief moment there to the Discord as well. I've tried a couple of SMPs, but found it a little difficult with lag and sometimes language barriers. Why? I'm an Aussie living in the Philippines, so it can take up to a second to open a chest on a US or Euro server. The servers closer to me don't tend to have English as their first language, and I've yet to find a server in Oceania that is active. The odd thing is my ping times to far off places in other games is fine. It's just Minecraft that's the issue. I'm a relatively new player, having only started playing around, I'm going to guess that's 119. Forgive me if I've got that wrong there. I take the point. So being from Australia, when we were setting up Interrealms, we looked at a few places, few options to host the server. And definitely basing it out of Sydney, Oceania, was not going to suit anyone else in the world. And it ended up being that we were either going to base it in LA or somewhere in Europe. And it turned out that actually Germany/France was the best option for everyone's general. But, as an Australian, my ping is anywhere from 200 to 500 on a daily. And it's just funny when you're on the server and people complain, oh, I have to relog, my ping's up to 300. And it's like, yeah. And it's playable. Believe me, it's playable. So I feel the pain there. I guess too is sometimes Dresden, it also depends obviously on your own internet connection and how you can connect to the networks, because you've got to travel basically, figure of speech, you've got to travel all the way around the world under the ocean floors and all those sort of things. So yeah, it can be a pain. Maybe you might want to try Interrealms. You're on the Discord there, so we generally get pretty good connections to people with our hosts, G Portal, who do sponsor and have been with Interrealms since very early on in season 1. So big thank you to G Portal, who do sponsor and power the Interrealms.
Yeah, I had a friend that he actually did some artwork for me. The Lost Enderman, and he lives in the Philippines. And yeah, he said he has the same problem. He has to like go to a certain part of the village just to get connection.
Would VPNs
So
help?
yeah,
I'm not sure. Maybe try a VPN.
that I don't know.
I don't know. Give it a go, Dresden. But yeah, look, if you want to give it a crack and see how you might go connecting through the interrealms, we'd happy to have a chat with that. But then we've got another comment there on this one from Guess Who, Devara. And if you've watched the YouTube channels and watched the videos there, you'll know Devara, when she gives her feedback, she's extensive, for lack of a better word. It's book-worthy, because it is book length. So again, this one was no exception. She did really go to town on it. But I'm going to take out one paragraph that I think really sums up what we've been trying to capture with Interrealms since day one. And, Devara, a bit of background with Devara, she's been on a lot of servers, a lot of communities over her time. And I believe is happy and found a place here. But let's see what Devara says. Every other SMP aside from Interrealms that I've been on has been one very specific issue with the worlds. Once people finish their main base, whatever it may be, mega base or not, they simply stop playing and wait for the next world. They don't make games to play with each other on the server. They don't help each other with the big projects that some may be working on or anything like that. In the end, on those other servers, you have one or two people, maybe by the end of the world, doing their own things, finishing up their big projects before they start a new world. But they never once go and look at what everyone else has built. They don't interact with one another. And I'd be surprised if, aside from the tab list and the game saying, hey, this person logged in, they realise that the other person is even there at all. Interrealms is the only SMP that I've been a part of that I can happily and truthfully say that I haven't seen that issue with. Like I said earlier, I joined Interrealms towards the end of World 3. Everyone was mostly done with their big bases and had moved on to making fun things to do for the community, different mini games and whatnot. That interested me, and I helped with clearing the areas and gathering resources for them because I wanted to be in it as much as I could. And also, I hadn't wanted to start on a major project of my own because, to be honest, when I first joined and saw the state of things and realised that the world was more or less over half done, I was hesitant to get too attached to building something in World 3. So I simply built a cute little place of my own in the Caves clan area and helped with others' projects instead. I was basically not super trusting that the server community wouldn't just vanish on me like so many had before. I'm happy that I stayed here and that I could safely say that I feel like part of the Interrealms family. It may seem weird or sappy, but it's the truth. I enjoyed reading that. And it's right, it's for us. We're not a build focused server. We're not a role play server. We are a community server. I think when we had Terry guest star on this guest star, she was the star of that episode. When she visited, she made the comment there that I'm not a builder, I'm not a redstoner, I'm a community player, and I think that really actually summed up most of us. Like we all love those interactions. We do things. We're a community outside of that sphere as well. Like again, Friday night community game night. I can see that they're there playing. I think it's Phasmophobia at the moment. So there's a lot of those initiatives and engagement, and we're friends outside of the Minecraft game as well. Like there's always people talking and chatting and playing different games and making content and whatever. But what was really good to see at the end of World 3, Season 3, is Devara said, we did, coming into that Christmas, was we all got together and we made mini games in the Christmas area. And that was fantastic. And we had still that community vibe. We all came together. It was really good. I think every server that has a world that is not forever world servers that do reset, I think there's invariably always a time where they come to a natural conclusion. And I think most of us felt with World 3, coming into towards the end of 2023, World 3 had its time. I think most of us felt that. And it was time to move on to something new. But we were still all active. We still got on and played. So, yeah. So I appreciate that feedback, Devara.
Right. And, you're right. That was the last of the events in World 3 on Interrealms is the Christmas event. There were a lot of people that outside of the community that we invited to that actually said, hey, I like this place. And so they actually joined us for World 4.
Yeah, just 3 off the top of my head. Well, actually, one of them actually joined almost straight away. There was Chemist, and then off the top of my head that we invited was Swarmy and Magpie. But they'd been in what we call Interrealms adjacent for a long time, and we absolutely love them. So yeah, they finally said, you know what, we're going to join Interrealms, which has put a big smile on my face. But yeah, no, a few did, or they always. I think every single person that came to visit said, please invite us for your next event, which was really pleasing to see and really good.
Right, and there are other events that we want to do throughout the year. Yeah, things in the works.
Yeah, the idea is for us to have regular events with the bigger community where either because thanks again to G Portal, they do provide us with a dedicated event server as well as the Interrealm server, which is fantastic. Can't thank them enough for that and their continued support. So we will actually have a link either in the description or the show notes with a link that we can actually get a discount if you want to set up your own server. Their rates are really, really competitive as well. But yes, the idea is to have events. And, if you get into the Discord and you get to know us, there's always a chance that you might get an invite to one of these events, Back in January, we had a Race to the End event, which everybody loved me about with how well I'd put the mods in, and no one complained that I'd made it too hard at all. Right, we invited a lot of people to that hadn't played with us before, and one of those actually joined the server as well.
Right, and while we're on that subject, you'd mentioned that we've had people that have come into the Discord that have found us. Or just found us through streams or whatnot, and said, "Hey, Interrealms looks like the server I'd like to be on. I'd like to join this community and be a part of this community." So we have a process of, we'd like to get to know you on the Discord, and you chat with people, get to know each other. We kind of have a leveling system on the Discord, and it's not about reaching the level just so you can join. It's more about getting to know each other, and then we go through. There's an application process, and there you could join us to play on the server. So
well, that stole the thunder for one of the next pieces of that. Of feedback that we got. We got a couple of emails that we're going to talk about from I Love MC 120. Hello.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Whoopsies. You've jumped ahead 10 minutes, but that's fine. One of the emails, the second email was basically how do I join the server? And that's probably something we've never actually explained. We're not an exclusive. We're not a closed server as such. We are a community SMP. So we've got content creators on there and we've got the community players as well. But, I always used to say, we're a group of 10 to 12 content creators. But then when I actually did the math and I actually looked at the server members, almost every single one of them, for the most part, at least dabble in content. They might not stream all the time, or they may not all make videos, but they all make content. Dabble in it at the least, or they come in, they see what we do, and they go, I'm inspired. I want to give it a go, and Naku was one of those as an example. She randomly found me on a Twitch stream and eventually joined, I think, for World 3, I think was her first time in Interrealms. And, she thought, I'm just going to stream and just give it a go. And now she's not anymore. She's not the biggest anymore, but she's one of the bigger streamers on Interrealms now, So get inspired, come get help. We're all here to help. But how to actually join the server, Miner basically said, it all starts on Discord. Yes, you need to be a member of our Interrealms Discord server. You get to level 10 on there, and that's just through interacting and chatting. But more importantly than everything is get to know us. Hang out in our streams, comment on the videos, talk to us on the Interrealms Discord, get involved. That's so that we can get to know you, but also, in reverse to that, you can get to know us, because sometimes it's not a good fit. The way we do things, our culture, maybe it's not for you, and that's fine. That is how to join the server. And then you go through, once you've hit level 10, you apply. And you fill out the form, and then the content creator level members of the server discuss it, put it to a vote, and go from there. In fact, we've got 2 new people joining, I believe, this weekend.
Oh, yes.
Yes, which I'm very excited for because one's an Australian, there's another Aussie on the server. Yay.
Yay.
And there's another one there who actually discovered me via my YouTube channel. Saw the server and what we were doing and thought it was good, hopped on Discord, and now, going to join. So we're excited for that. And thank you to I Love MC 120 for that email. But also, now that we're on emails, thanks, Minor, actually got the first email that we got, and I'm going to read this one now. I love your podcasts and listen to them when a new episode comes out. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I have just finished The Mighty Mace. Did anyone pick up that it was a play on the word the Mighty Mouse? Anyway, don't worry. I thought I was clever coming up with that one. Anyway, and noticed a fact you stated later on in the episode. Troge was saying that he and his friends were looting an ancient city. You were trying to make the point that once you got what you needed, Swift Sneak, you're done. But the whole community thinks there is a portal in the center of this structure. Maybe that right now it's a one and done, and later Mojang will add a rare item that you have to obtain and come back to open the portal. This is just one reason that I am trying to make. Yes. Well, firstly, we agree with you on that. If you listen back to some of our older episodes, we 100% agree that there is something more to come with that whole portal structure. And I think you would be naive to think that nothing would ever come from it. And we definitely agree. With that being said, as it stands right now, for me, it's a one and done. The ancient cities. There is no reason right now, as the game stands, as of 1.20.4, there's no reason to go back once you've got your Swift Sneak and whatever else you can get out of there. There's no reason to go back.
Speaking of the Mighty Mace, and this may be a little off topic. Someone was saying that I watched a video saying something about one-shotting a warden with the mace. You're going to have to do it on the surface because you just don't have the room to do it in an ancient city. Yeah, you can bring a mace with you to an ancient city, but you're just not going to have the room to one-shot him.
Probably not that, but you would definitely have the room to do if you let a wither out in the open, or you fight the Ender Dragon with an Elytra. Much easier, I guess, in theory. But yes, probably can't one-shot the Warden as easy as what people are saying out. I still think you're going to see that nerfed. And speaking of the Mighty Mace, we've had a lot of comments on there saying that they're probably going to nerf it. And I think it may be Devara. I haven't got this episode up for the feedback, but I think it was Devara said, once upon a time on the bow, as an example, you could put Mending and Infinity, and that got nerfed because that was overpowered. So I think you'll see changes.
I think they already have nerfed the. I don't know the exact details, but the Elytra, and using the mace, I think that has been nerfed in some respects.
Can I throw out some theory, some Minecraft theory? I Love MC120 said, what if you had to get an item, a rare item, you obtain it somehow and you come back to the ancient city and then you open the portal? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the heavy core. Remember in the Mighty Mace episode, I was saying that the heavy core has the same design as a conduit. And that if you get a heavy core, to me, calling it a core is at the center of something. What if, I'm just saying, this is a wild theory, but if it comes out to be true, you've heard it here first. What if underneath those portals you got the redstone room? And if you go back far enough into our older episodes, I said it's almost like someone was trying to use redstone to figure out how to turn the portal on. What if the missing component of all of that is actually the heavy core, and it's the heavy core you then get to have to go back and you use that in some contraption to turn on the portal? And for the big anniversary of Minecraft coming up, everyone thinking we're going to get an end update. What if we're getting a new dimension and everything's tying into that?
Anything's possible because there were things with this that are coming out with this update that I didn't expect. I didn't expect the mace at all. That was kind of out of left field. So you kind of got to wonder if they have a long-term plan. They don't divulge any of that, but And kind of to segue into possibly another email, but that might be a context clue. Something intuitive that we've talked about before that you can say, okay, this might have something to do with this. And other YouTubers, Game Theory, and they did a whole series on Minecraft, and talking about that the builders, and I forget exactly what they said, but they made similar comments about that being a portals of some sort, and it's only obvious. Its smaller version is in the game files, the small portal, that looks just like the big portal. So, it's there's clues there. There's definitely clues there.
Speaking of context, clues, and intuitiveness, let's go back to the whole intuitive topic that people know on the internet and onto the Twitterverse that if something is related to intuitiveness, I get tagged. We had an email from the Bearded Bard, who is actually Miner's son, actually disagreeing with us. How dare he, the audacity, that Minecraft is not intuitive. In fact, he came to the conclusion that it was actually very intuitive, and Miner and I, are just two old men that don't understand. So
we just came off the ships or something.
Yeah, correct. So, we put our thoughts forward, and we had a reply that we were incorrect. So let's go to the email. Again, it's from the Bearded Bard. I think Minecraft is not only getting less intuitive, but it is still one of the most intuitive games out there. I'm going to rip this email apart. I'm just saying, Miner. Prepare yourself. Get the burn ointment out, because there's one's coming for the Bearded Bard. Intuitiveness by definition, or one of many, there we go, one definition, is immediate apprehension or cognition. In my opinion, part of this is based on how easy the task is to understand and how hard it is to actually do. Knowledge is the easiest part to obtain, so I don't apply that to how intuitive something is. I got a problem with that sense, but we'll come back to it. I apply how hard that task is to complete with that knowledge. If something is readily understood, but still hard to do, then it's not intuitive. If something may not be known yet, but the task itself is easy enough to do, then it is intuitive. I say this because you are able to figure this out one of many ways, but the most common are two, either through trial and error, I'll come back to that point, or via looking up the information. In this case, Minecraft is one of the most intuitive games because although you may need to look up the info, these tasks are usually very simple to complete, even without the knowledge. I have much more I want to say to help to support, but then this email would be a few pages long. First of all, that doesn't stop Devara, so please feel free to send through a novel if you like. Right.
Yeah.
May I, Miner? May I?
Okay, I just want to go on record and say I know my son's point. I get it. I get where he's coming from, but I have my own thoughts, and I express them to him. I mean, we've had many talks about this, so let us hear yours first.
All right. First, I see where he's going, and I do comprehend what he's saying. I get his point. I just fundamentally disagree with it. And he actually provides the reasons why in his email, which I find is interesting. So he's saying there, I think what he's doing is confusing difficulty with intuitiveness. And I can almost hear him listening to this and going, "No, I'm not." I think he might be.
No, he's most definitely saying, you guys, you just don't get me. You don't get today's generation.
It doesn't matter whether you're born in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, or the now. There is nothing in the game that says to you, go get a archaeology brush an armadillo, it will drop something. What it drops, you will then be able to craft into armor for your pet dog. There is nothing in the game that tells you there is a thing called the ancient city. There's actually nothing, if you actually play the game through to completion, or attempt to, when you're actually doing it, understanding that the nether and a nether portal even though we've said previously, that adding in those new ancient, the ruin portals was a good step, but there's nothing really explained to you how important the nether is to actually going to the end of the game, which is, by definition, is defeating the Ender Dragon. What tells you that you need to go to the nether, find a fortress, find a blaze, kill the blaze, get their drops, combine it with combine it with an ender pearl to get an eye of ender, throw the pearl and follow it. Then when you follow it, dig down into the stronghold, and then you need more of these eyes to fill up and turn on the portal. How is any of that actually intuitive? As he has said, trial and error. I mean, if you're going to use a trial and error method for a lot of those things, I think it's more dumb blind luck that you're going to get to some of these conclusions more than trial and error. Because you're not even, just tell the wolf armor, you're not even going to know as a brand new player coming into the game, you are never going to know for a second that is even an item that's possible to make. And you, in all likelihood, won't know until you pick up one of the scoots or whatever they are from the armadillo, which you're never likely to get unless you know from an outside source, which the Beta Bard says is the other method to look something up on how to do it. You're never going to actually pick up the scoots because you're never going to know that they exist because you don't know how to get it because it's not intuitive to brush an animal with an archaeology brush. So if the fact of the matter is, if the game itself needs you to go to an external source to look up how to do it, by definition, it's not intuitive, because the definition of intuitive is using or based on what one feels to be true, even without conscious reasoning. Instinctive. None of that is instinctive. How do you feel it to be true? Like, you've just started up it for the first time, the game. How do you know any of those few things are even to be true? You wouldn't have a clue. The game doesn't instinctively drag you to that conclusion. You've got to figure it out. And he's right, you've got to figure it out. But there's not enough context clues to make it an intuitive process. Games like Red Dead Redemption and those sort of things, that are open world sort of things, there's always context clues to the next thing, or there's always something to help you. Now, Minecraft does have the achievements, but you can't see the achievements are locked until you currently do bits and pieces. Then they start opening up. It's not laid out for you. Now do this, now do this, now do this. And I'm not saying Minecraft should be like that, because it's a sandbox game. But to say it's one of the most intuitive games, I don't actually think. I think we get the point. I don't think the Beta Bard understands what we're trying to say. I think he's confusing difficulty with intuitiveness. The sentence I had the biggest, I sort of had to read it a few times to get my head around it. If something is readily understood but hard to do, then it's not intuitive. No. If you understand something, how to do it, that's intuitive, because you understand what to do with it. You understand, you've got the knowledge, you understand. It's intuitive, but it's difficult to do. So it's hard, but you understand it. So therefore it's intuitive. If something may not be known yet, but the task itself is easy to do, then it is intuitive. Well, I disagree with that, because if you don't know about something, if you don't know how to do it, then it's not intuitive. If you don't know it exists, then it's not intuitive.
There are specific things that unless you look it up or stumble upon it, you're not going to know. Once upon a time, I mean, I have so many things I could say about this. Once upon a time, there was a tutorial world for Minecraft. They had tutorial worlds. It wasn't just the small things that they put when you first open up a game where it says, WASD to move around and punch a tree and the simple things. It's when you get to the harder things that's these days you can just look it up. I still do it today. Like, I did it today. How do you make a grindstone? I rarely use a grindstone, so I had to look it up.
Yep.
And I know how to go to the book within the the crafting menu.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain things that don't, depending on how you have your server set up or your game set up, you could have all recipes unlocked, or you have to stumble upon the things. The grindstone was not unlocked for me, so I had to look it up.
Mm.
And this whole discussion with Josh I had about something being intuitive or not. A lot of your games today have tutorial, some kind of tutorial, tooltips in the beginning of the game. Minecraft doesn't have a whole lot of that. They used to, but not anymore. And the point I posed a theory to him. I said, "What if you took someone, say, an Amish person that is experiencing technology for the first time, sits down in front of a computer, and they say, 'Here is Minecraft. Figure it out.'" And they've never been on the internet. They don't know where to go, what to look up, or if they're just told to play the game, could they figure it out? And I think someone would struggle. I think they really, really would struggle with something like that.
Well, I hope the bit of Bard, I hope he understands I'm coming across as a jovial way here. I'm enjoying the back and forth. But I've got a challenge for him, Minor. It's very simple.
Right.
If he can come up a legitimate case for what I'm about to issue forward, I will eat my words and say Minecraft is the most intuitive game ever.
Okay.
If he can give me an example, is undeniably cannot be argued against, right? And what does not count is, it's a simple task, therefore it's intuitive. Don't buy that. The Bearded Bard has to give me an example of a new player knowing intuitively that if he wanted to get rid of a huge body of water, that he can drain it by using sponges that he goes to an ocean monument for, defeats the guardians, the ancient guardians, or whatever they are, elder guardians, and then can harvest a whole bunch of sponge from there that he then has to dry out that can be used to drain large bodies of water. If the Bearded Bard can show me how that is in any way intuitive within the game, I'll eat my words.
I can almost guarantee. I know my son. He will argue that it is.
I have
and
to
another
be
point that he made.
I got to be convinced of the argument.
Another point that he said that he made that wasn't in the email, that today's generation are technology savvy. They pick things up with technology, with gaming in general, very quickly.
The challenge is there. I'm not going to deny that my son probably knows more about technology than I, but doesn't mean the game is intuitive at all. And if anything, I would argue it's getting less intuitive with the more stuff that they add in. How does anyone have any concept that a copper bowl could be used as a 1-block T flip-flop, unless you know really a lot about the game?
Yeah, people that are been around Redstone and they can do things through trial and error, because they understand the mechanics. Here's the challenge that you should have said. You should have said, okay, I want you to find an item in Minecraft to drain a body of water, and just left it at that. Then he'd have to figure out, what's that item? Where do I get it? How do I obtain it? What kind of dangers are involved in getting it?
Well, I assume that if he's going to come from a position of, knowledge is intuitiveness, then he would already know that the sponge is the item. So, but let's see what he comes back with, because I know he will. He's not going to let this one go.
I know.
No, look, it's all in fun. It's all in jest. I just fundamentally don't agree with his position. Do I understand it? Yes, I understand what he's trying to say, but I think he's getting confused between difficulty and intuitiveness of game design. And, I do feel he would be on the minority. But if you are out there listening to this and you think the Bearded Bard is right, Troj is an idiot, please let us know. On the flip side, if you think that Troj is actually right again, as usual, please let us know.
Yes,
and once again, Minor, how would they do that?
It would be the easiest way. And Devara, hey, we'd like to get your thoughts on this one. Down here in the YouTube comments, if you're listening to this, of course, on YouTube, you can always leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on anything we've talked about. And while you're at it, like and subscribe. Do the stuff. And then The email, Minecraft Lab podcast at gmail.com. Over there on X at MC_lab podcast. I think that's it. It's different every time I tell you. You can talk to us in person here on the Discord. Link is down there in the description, somewhere in the description. Talk to us live and in person. And we've had a couple come over doing that and talking to us about the podcast. And then, of course, there's the wonderful website made by Keegers, the interrealmssmp.com. You can connect through that to us individually or the podcast. Leave your comments there.
Ramona, I think that about wraps up all the feedback that we've had from the last month and a bit or so. For the most part, we had a lot more feedback, but it was sort of condensed into, they were talking about similar things. So we've just picked the ones that that summed up everything the best.
Mm-hmm.
But we definitely love to hear more. We want to do more of these sort of episodes. So we listen and would love to hear more.
Always. And we appreciate all of you that have taken the time to give us your thoughts. And we'll respond to them here in these feedback episodes.
But with that, Minor, don't you have something to go and blow up?
Yes, I do. I've got a big hole to create.
Yeah, you're going to do it intuitively?
No, with TNT.
Okay. All right. I'll leave you to it. Goodbye, sir.
Bye-bye. I do have one intro. I have one lined up, so.
No, we're back to wood.
Let's see if I can.
We're back to wood.
Yes, we're back to wood. Back to wood.
The final wood?
I didn't get any feedback on whether wood is good or wood is bad. It's just,
Wood is always good. Let's face it.